Hello everyone, attempt 2. My last one was interrupted by a phone call, so I said I was going to do my first ever batch of resin, and I did, and I expected everything to be a total flop, and I was mostly right. I had a few successes, learned a few things, and I'll do better next time. Anyway, I wanted to show you what I was doing, so I did some photos, domed them with resin. Those turned out nice. It did soak through the paper on almost everything, which I kind of expected, but I wanted to run the experiment and see. So now I know everything needs to be sealed. I also found on the mini books the stuff I thought I had sealed was not sealed well enough, and as you can see, it soaked through and saturated the picture. It still looks alright, but it's not perfect, and I don't like that. It also soaked through some edges where I had little bits that obviously weren't sealed well enough. Yeah, over here on this one, the surface was abraded by my little spiral here that I inset in the resin, and so that has a little leak there, and of course the corners are always going to be vulnerable, so I need to work out a better way. This was a success. This turned out perfectly. I'm really happy with that one. And yeah, this one here, I don't know if you can make it out, but there's a little swath of very, very teeny tiny bubbles right in the center here that run all the way through. They're not just surface bubbles, they run all the way through. But otherwise, this one turned out decently. This is the only one that turned out just the way I intended. And even this one was the paper soaked through, so it's a slightly darker image than was originally intended, but it turned out. All these others had little holes, so I took that as an excuse to put in a dab of glue and inset pearl on this one a little emerald, and actually that looks perfect. This one I had a hole here, so I put a little blue stone in up top because the TARDIS is blue, and this one, talk about perfect strategic placement for that hole. I was able to put in a little diamond in her hair. This one, I can't fix that. There's a huge bubble right over his face. That is just not going to work. So, trash. And then these, I didn't notice I hadn't got it all the way to the edge, so there's little gaps. See if I can get it to focus up close. Come on, there we go. Yeah, so little gaps in the pores and around the edges. It doesn't go all the way to the edge. Rather disappointing that, but these were the very first ones I did. And by the end, when I was doing these, I got much better. So there's a learning curve. You've got to practice. And even though the covers are not all that I hoped for, I kind of expected that, being this is a first attempt. And I am still going to put my page blocks inside and wear them. Yeah, because this is a perfect cover for my focus, darn you. Thank you. This is a perfect cover for my vintage photo album with the inset photos. So I will do a tutorial on this style of book block, you know, with inset photos, as well as a printed one. So not inset, this is actually built into the page. Yeah, I've got this one here. This is what I'm talking about with printed. This is printed directly on the page. And see, this one is another inset. Yep, here we go. So there's multiple ways to do it. You can write it in. You can print it directly on the page, then cut your printed paper apart and build your block. You can inset. So anyway, sidetracked into books, but yeah, this is my my first attempt at resin, and absolutely positively have to seal your paper properly and get every nook and cranny, because if you don't, you get bleed marks where the resin saturates. Kind of disappointing on a project. So now I know, do a better job. And I've actually ordered some waterproof paper that I can print on. So I will have the same images, but on paper that is not going to get the wet bleed marks. So wish me luck, and I'll show you some of my successes when I actually have some. Anyway, have a nice night.